Who would you rather work with? Someone who is the absolute best at what they do, but is a complete, utter, 100% unrepentant asshole? Or someone who is maybe not quite the best, but let's just say in the top 10% of whatever it is that their field is. So they're not the best, but they are incredibly fun to be around, and they are humble and down to earth and agreeable and talented, but very understanding of other people's perspectives. And overall, this person is just a delight to be in the company of. Who are you going to work with? Well, I am going to assume that most of you would have chosen option number 2. But there's probably a few people out there who say,
well, I'm taking the best of the best no matter what. I don't care how abrasive they are, because this is business. And sometimes being abrasive in business is a great thing, right? Give me the best.
So I would now invite you to do this same scenario, only we're gonna flip it this time and put it in the context of a relationship. Heck, let's go all the way and just say marriage. Who would you rather be married to? Option 1, someone who is a smoking hot, perfect 10 supermodel on the cover of GQ or Vogue, but though they may be incredibly attractive, their personality is that of a complete and utter dud. And when they do let some type of emotion come through, it's nothing but stubbornness and hostility and angst and bitterness and just generally such a bad demeanor that you hate spending time with that person. Or option 2, somebody who is still quite attractive, but let's put them on the number scale and say somewhere in the 8s. But this 8 also has a personality that will just knock your socks off. They are funny, they're lively, they're enjoyable, they're optimistic, they are positive, they're warm, they're understanding, they're compassionate, they're empathetic. All the good character traits that we want to heap on somebody, this person has it. Who are you going to choose? And let me tell you, if you chose number 1, then please allow me to give you the phone number of a great divorce attorney. Hello, rock stars, Matt Vanderbo here, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about how your personality and who you are as a person, I think, is much more important to the development and the furtherment of your musical career than actual musical talent. Now, I'm probably not going to tell you anything you do not already know. So this video is going to be largely kind of a preaching to the choir type of situation, but hopefully you can kind of take some of this to heart and just remind yourself that being a good person who is easy to work with is more important than the talent that you bring to the table. So in terms of music composition, you could be the best composer in the world, but if a music library determines that you are an egotistical jackass, or you are such a curmudgeon and just a complete stick in the mud, they are not going to be that inclined to work with you. Now, sure, you may be a great moneymaker, but are they going to give you the custom projects where you have to work hand in hand with a producer or someone else from the library? No, probably not, because they know when you have to work hand in hand with somebody, your asshole qualities come out and nobody will want to work with you again. We as human beings, I think we tend to place a high premium on the experiences we have with something. So if we enjoy the ambiance of a restaurant and we get really great service from the wait staff, then it almost doesn't matter if the food was really, really good or kind of mediocre. We overlook all that because the experience of the restaurant was worth so much more than the product. And the same thing is true of music. If you can give a music library owner a great experience when you work together or when you deliver files or when you just send some random email to them, they are going to key on that. And in their mind, you are going to be such a fun person that when they get phone calls for custom jobs and they go through their little Rolodex of composers and say, who could pull this off? They are most likely going to give those jobs to the composers that they enjoy working with. And I suppose part of that is probably the fact that, well, if they enjoyed working with these composers, then surely these other people will enjoy working with them as well. And then as an end result, the library looks better because they put a great person out into the world to work on these custom projects. But I'm sure part of it is also the fact that they want to show you off to other people. It's almost like when you know a celebrity and you want to tell all your friends, well, I know so-and-so, or,
my cousin lives right next door to whoever.
we get some type of weird satisfaction by knowing a cool person, even though it has nothing to do with it. Like, we just know them. That's all. There's no special trait to that. Like, this other person is the one that has all the special qualities, but we know them, so that says something about us. And music library owners are no different. If they can send out their best composers who have great personalities to custom projects, then it makes them look good as a result. So you gotta be fun, you gotta be lively, you gotta be humble, you gotta be down to earth. You just have to be a cool person. Now, yes, talent does play a role here. I'm not saying that your personality will overcome a complete lack of talent. Not at all. I'm just saying that you don't need to be the best to rise to the top. If you have other qualities that have nothing to do with the skill that you bring to the table that other people enjoy. And I think another thing we really enjoy as humans is the fact that someone is a cool guy. I mean, you hear this all the time when people talk about a celebrity, be it a movie star or an athlete or a musician, and they say, well, they're really, really great at what they do, but they're just such a cool person. I would love to sit down and have a beer with so-and-so. One example that springs to mind right away for me is Post Malone. And I don't know if you've heard similar stories to what I have, but he's actually made it out to the Boise, Idaho area a couple of times in the past year or so. He does huge shows out here. In fact, his last one, he sold out Boise State Bronco football stadium, if you can believe that. Post Malone sold out a frickin' football stadium. And then a day or two after the show, he stayed in Idaho and went to a smaller town a little ways down the road from Boise and went to a restaurant where he hung out with the wait staff and took all sorts of pictures and left massive tips for everybody. And then the next day he was photographed at coffee shops in the area, just hanging out with people. People are like, I cannot believe how down to earth Post Malone was. He's like a real guy. Now let's contrast that with someone like Axl Rose from Guns N' Roses, okay, late 1980s. Different style of music, to be sure, but both Axl Rose and Post Malone, you could say, are icons of their musical style. But one of the differences with Axl Rose was he was notorious for being a complete asshole. Nobody liked working with him. He was apparently, as the stories go, so completely abrasive that nobody wanted anything to do with him. The one time that I actually saw a Guns N' Roses concert, he actually came on stage, I don't know how late, because he was watching a Monday night football game, and he cost the venue all sorts of noise ordinance fines as a result of him being on stage way later than the city actually allowed him to be there. So that's one story that I have a personal experience. But I mean, you could look at all the history of this guy to know that he was not an enjoyable person to be around. So if you had to choose a vocalist and you needed someone who had either Axl Rose's pipes or Post Malone's skills, who would you rather choose? Like, if all things were equal and you could choose one of the two, you would probably choose Post Malone because he's a good person. And that's the lesson that I want you to take away from today's video. And I would encourage you to just be very conscious of the personality that you exude to other people, and be conscious of the warmth or the coldness that you emanate to others. So go through and look at all of your emails and just see if there's a fun person in those sentences. And if you're just generally maybe not like an over-the-top fun person, is there warmth in your emails? Or are your emails to music libraries or whatever, are they just completely cold and stick in the muddish? As much as we don't want to work with a-holes, we also don't want to work with these sticks in the mud or these pompous sons of bitches that come off acting like they are God's gift to this entire planet. So just as a quick moral of the story, back of the book, final wrap up here, in my experience, and my experience may be different than yours, but in my experience, people do not like working with snotty assholes. We are more than happy, in fact, I would say excited to work with people who we like, who are humble, who are fun, who are talented, but also down to earth and kind and friendly. We love working with people like that, but we just don't want to work with the assholes. And so I guess I would just go so far as to say that if you have a personality that borders on outright hostility and angst, and you are very prone to insulting everybody within your orbit, and you constantly mock people, maybe mock them online for the whole world to see, make fun of people right in front of their face and behind their back, are constantly talking about how bad of a job everybody else does when you are the best thing that has ever happened to the entire world. Well, if you have a personality like that, it's probably not going to take you very far. Oh, wait a second. I guess it will get you elected to be the President of the United States, so I stand corrected. But I think it is safe to say that for the rest of us, to which if you had maybe at least 3, 4, not to mention 34 felony convictions against you, it would have some serious repercussions to your personal or professional life. So if we don't have that luxury to get past an excessive criminal record, then we can't get past being an asshole either. And it is just better to be a nice, friendly, likable person. If you're not extremely lively, then don't fake it. The last thing we want to do is fake a personality. But just see if there's anything you can do in your communications that would lead others to think that you are a great person to work with. Because at the end of the day, it's your workability and your likability that will get you more jobs instead of the talent that you might bring to whatever field it is that you are employed in. So we're gonna stop it there, ladies and gentlemen, and I will just end this video with another quick joke, kind of on the topic that we're dealing with. What is the difference between ignorance and apathy? I don't know, and I don't care. Hey, catch you rock stars later. Toodles!